I see you now. All right.
My mom taught me to sell at a spaza shop. She ran a hair salon. I pretty much learned entrepreneurship from my mom's.
Umtu ngumtu ngabantu. That on your own, you can't really do it. You need the support of those around you.
You will have a network of people, a network of communities, and a society that will make sure that you count.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday edition of SAITA Straight Talk. The 7th of October 2021, the South African Informal Traders Alliance embarked on really what can only be called the first step of a brand new future. My guest this evening is Paul Bester, and the 7th of October is a special day because we first need to say happy birthday to our own special Arch Desmond Tutu, who celebrates his 90th birthday today, and we want to wish him all of the best, and that maybe if he's spared to us for the next 90 years, that his health will just improve and that he'll never lose that wonderful sense of humor that he has. Paul Bester, now that I've done the happy birthday wishes, I want to say good evening to you and welcome.
Good evening, Louise. Thank you for having me for tonight. Thank you so much.
So, Paul, as you can see, I'm slightly sunburnt, and that is because I attended the National March where SAITA joined Cosatu today. We were in Cape Town, but across the country, our comrades all in solidarity walked the walk, and we all delivered memorandums. But I want you to set the scene. Tell us, the 7th of October, why this day? Is it because it's almost election time that we decided to do this? But I'm sure there must be a more political reason around it.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. I think funny enough and tongue-in-cheek, you are quite correct. The 7th of October is very near to elections and there would have been some electioneering done across the country. That is so. But officially, and let's see, it's the 7th of October is International Decent Work Day. It's a very, very special day for us. You know, the 1st of May is Workers' Day, and then workers celebrate the struggles of what we have done. But the 7th of October talks on decent work. It's good to be a worker, but are you treated correctly as a worker? And I think when you look at the basic worker rights that we walk today, that's what Cosatu stood for and wanted to address today. Going to the city of Cape Town, and I'm talking Western Cape now. As you rightly say, this was a day that was done across the country in all provinces. I know, for instance, Limpopo had 3 marches at 3 different venues in Limpopo that Cosatu organized. So both over and above the 9 provinces, you would have had 2, 3, some of them 3 or 4 venues inside a specific province where a march or where marches and pickets was held. But let's go back to what it needs. The 7th of October is International Decent Work Day. An informal sector that we are is also decent work. And it's all too easy for the government of the day and municipalities to treat informal traders as third-class citizens. And as SAITA, we will not allow that. And for that reason, we joined hands with Cosatu today to stand up for the rights of the informal trader and say, we also want decent working rights for our traders. Traders put bread on the table. They pay tax for the products that they sell. They pay permit fees, as we will talk on that specifics a little bit later for one of the reasons that we walk. But in general, they pay permits. So there's a big and a huge influx, the GDP of South Africa. And we've done this across 1 or 2 of your sessions that we had in the last 2 months, is that the GDP of the country is supplemented more than 10%, 12% of the GDP is done by the informal sector. We are far from third-class citizens. We are part of the economy. We might not be a structured and a formal business, but we are so much part of the economy. And for that reason, SAITA Today joined the National Day of Action of Cosatu in the Western Cape.
But there's a greater significance than just the decent working right, isn't it? Because Cosatu as a brand represents workers, and we've never ever had this kind of alliance. So really today we've set the platform for the first time in history that we are workers in this economy.
Yes. I think what I did was now to share with you how the 7th of October is and why would one walk on or take action on the 7th of October. And this is an international day and it's been done on a yearly basis. But what you are saying is quite correct. Cosatu was integral in the formation of SAITA in 2012, 2013 when it was launched. The NUM General Secretary at the time, he passed away, may his soul rest in peace, was part of this to say, let's form a association for the informal sector. Cosatu has policies on which they call the precarious worker or the vulnerable worker. There's Congress resolutions that addresses these issues. The ILO has certain resolutions on informal traders, but yet nobody takes it forward. So today is actually a watermark, and if I may use a word from the old apartheid president P.V. Botha, we today crossed the Rubicon. Today we crossed the Rubicon in saying Cosatu and SAITA walked as one. Whatever was said and done prior, however we were treated by governments, by other unions, today that divide was closed. And in solidarity, we walked as one. And we held hands. We approached the city of Cape Town, the mayor's office, because our issues was the same as Cosatu's issues. And if you allow me to touch on 2 or 3 of those issues quickly, why we walked. If you look at
Yes, please.
Cosatu talked on the basic worker rights. Now, one of the basic worker rights for us as the informal sector is the permit system. For informal or informal trader to trade, he needs to have a permit issued by the city or by the municipality in the area that he or she trades in. Now, in the end of August, the national president, President Ramaphosa, issued a directive which was in the government, it's gazetted in the government gazette, that all permits from informal traders needs to be waived, the cost, up till to the 31st of December 2022. Meaning, bar illegal traders, and I'm talking about people that trade illegally, all permitted and permits that has lapsed, or people that hasn't renewed their permits, are waived the cost to trade, meaning they may trade without paying permits fees to the city and to the municipalities. We found that the municipalities are not adhering to that instruction. The government is very clear. It's not open for interpretation. It is what it is. It says what it says, and the law is what it is. There's no dispute resolution process in that written into that. And if it was so, it would have stated so in the government gazette that if you are not unhappy, there's a bargaining council process. It might be taken there. This directive does not speak to it. It tells you directly 2-3 lines what needs to be done, and it needs to be done. Now, as SAITA, we decided as well, this cannot be a workshop. We are not workshopping government and municipalities on how they must do their work. No, the government has done what it needs to done. Municipalities, by their very nature, as running the city and running, wards and areas, needs to implement it
Yes.
directly. So it's not our duty to inform and train the municipalities, the wards councillors on how it needs to be implemented. They need to implement it ASAP, as soon as possible. And if we can say as soon as possible, we would ask that to happen as of tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. We would not want any other municipality to come to us and say they would still want to discuss this with the legal team and so on. No, this directive was not for that. So we are asking tonight, if there's anybody of the city or any municipality listening into to us, pull up your socks. Don't take SAITA for a fool. We are not in a workshop. We are not in class. Do what you're supposed to do. You are getting a lot of money of our tax money. Guide us, lead us, and do what you are supposed to do. And stop playing games with SAITA's members on the ground. The other issue is the Do No Harm campaign that SAITA has. Too easy and much too often we find the law enforcement officers who then goes out and do their duties as per the instruction, go and confiscate, products and produce on the street because a certain he or she would not have a permit. Firstly, they are fined for not having a permit, which is an illegal fine. They then take the products and confiscate it, but they treat our traders as if they are criminals, especially women traders. And we as SAITA are very much against gender-based violence. We stand for gender-based violence. We will not tolerate it. And we find too often that the inspectors and the law enforcement officers go out
Yes.
and show them with a show of force to put their power down, manhandle women, manhandle children, and this is not on. And SAITA has said no more. Today will be the last day that we would want complaints of that. After that, we will act, and we will act decisively. Unfortunately, today, due to COVID, we were allowed only 2,000 people. There was about 5 to 8,000 and even 10,000 of the traders that contact us that wanted to join today, but we had to tell them no. You cannot because COVID has not allowed you. There's a government, disaster management act that tells us what must happen, and the
Yes.
disaster management act tells us only 2,000 under the level one, disaster level one. And unfortunately, we had to show some people the door. My heart pains from sending people away to come in, to practice their right, constitutional right, which is to picket and to march, but we had to. And you will see, if you look at the media tonight, look at the news tonight, you will see SAITA banner right in front. You will see 2,000 members, SAITA members and Cosatu members, approaching the office of the city. Unfortunately, that could have been 15,000 today, or even 20,000. And I'm reluctant to say less than 15, because people want to voice their frustration. Now, there's a saying that says, Louise, no war, no revolution is won in the boardroom. Revolutions are won on the street. And we saw that today, that the mayor of City of Cape Town did not want to come and accept our memorandum. He sent a low-ranking officer, and I kid you not, look at the videos, 25 law enforcement officers protecting him against whom? The very people that put him in a position. We are the ones that went and stand in the sun and stand in the rain and stand in the cold to make our cross, to put a ward council and put a government in place. It is our government. We put them there. And they bring 25 officers to protect him against his own voters, which to me is a joke. But that being said, we were there today in our numbers. Our voice and our message was heard very clear. What is quite interesting and what was quite there was a revelation, is that the president of SAITA, President Rashida Muller, and the president of Cosatu, Zingizwa Losi, standing shoulder to shoulder, addressing the provincial office, whilst two national presidents, females I might add, and this is so profound, that two female leaders of the two biggest organizations, one for the formalized economy and one in the informal sector, both have female presidents addressing the city to pull up the socks and do what they're supposed to do. And I want to end off this input before I close this. We were told that the mayor can't make it in the Western Cape, and I wonder why. Is he busy packing his bags in this office because they know that his time is finished on the 1st of November? But that's tongue in cheek. I don't know why he wouldn't want to send a low ranking officer to us. But that being said, it is what it is. SAITA made their voice known today. People took us serious. And I want to put this out as well. If you don't listen to us, City of Cape Town, whoever comes in on the 1st of November, if it's the DA, then it's the DA. If it's ANC, if it's the Cape Coloured Congress, whoever comes to power in the 1st of November, take note that SAITA will be at your front door, knocking there on the 2nd of November to put things right and to govern the city of Western Cape as you're supposed to do, And our call goes out to all other 8 provinces. Don't think because we're in Cape Town, we are not coming for you. We will come for you. You will know of us. We will not leave you untouched if you don't do what you were supposed to do after the 1st of November. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I just want to go to the Facebook comments and also greet all the viewers and thank everybody for their comments. Pat Horn has sent us 2 messages that I just want to share with the viewers and with you. And she's reminding us that it's not quite the first time in history. She says in 2010, formal workers and informal workers marched together in Durban against the demolition of the Warwick Junction early morning market and the destruction of jobs. Between 7,000 and 10,000 workers of the informal economy in the Warwick Junction market precinct was affected. And she goes on to say that struggle was one of those where jobs and livelihoods were saved. She says today is a continuation of a previous joint working class solidarity between workers in the formal and the informal sector. And the word that refrains today is amandla. And thank you, Comrade Pat, for that. And so thank you everybody for the comments. Bumbala, you saying we were fighting for and where, because people don't have jobs and they've been losing jobs left, right, and center from 2012 to date. Paul, do you want to respond to that statement?
You're talking about the job losses.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2008, we found an international capitalist breakdown. The capitalist system, as we know it, they call it the bubble, the economy bubble that burst and had huge effects on money markets. And we then in 28 saw that the capitalist regime is at its end. And I don't want to talk politics tonight, but that showed us that the small minority of rich people ran the world. The 1%ers ran the world. And when that bubble burst, people felt the brunt. But we built and we went on and jobs were lost. And then COVID hit us. And in South Africa, I mean, as we stand, South Africa, we are a resilient country. We are a resilient people. We take these things on the chin, and you will see when big things happen in the world, South Africans will tell a joke and there will be a meme and we will laugh on something massive in South Africa. But COVID really showed us that sometimes, you need to look inside. And if the general figure or the official figure is that 2.2 million people lost their jobs last year due to the COVID pandemic. And if you look at it, maybe 10% fall off, not doing anything or living off grants or just, as I always say, live a life of crime and then go to jail. The other 90%, which technically is about 1.7 million of them, became informal traders themselves. And job losses create opportunities. And as much as we need to protect jobs, I also say the resilience of the people that this, hits is just everywhere in South Africa. We had the informal sector increase with 1.7 million. And we see that daily. When people contact us at SAITA and Comrade Pat Horn will also confirm that at StreetNet, is people contact us daily regarding funding, doing, building their business, going forward. So the job losses, as much as it is being addressed by the person inside him or herself, going to the street and becoming an informal sector. However, I would like to make a statement. The government cannot and will never be a job creation agency. Never. Government must create fertile ground so that jobs can be created. So if it means that investment is needed, we cannot allow a story to go out to say a stadium was built in the Eastern Cape for 15 million rand that we saw yesterday, and there's 3 metal structures for 6,000 rand, and that's a 15 million. These kind of things government must stop. Government must do some introspection, stop wasting our money, but create fertile ground so that jobs can be created. I mean, if you look at a company like Mercedes-Benz who builds their cars both in PE and also in a little bit of a factory, not a big factory in Pretoria. But these are companies that can easily leave our country. If the political situation is unstable or if government, can I use the word, plays around with power, for the lack of a better word. Government must not play with power. They must look and be decent to the people that they serve and create opportunities so that jobs can be created. Government is, does create jobs, and I will never, I come from the government environment many years ago. So I can't be standing outside the door and say I didn't get a job from government. I worked there. It was an application process and I applied and there was people appointed. So that being said, it is that they also have people to work. But we cannot look at government from every corner and every day and say, what are you doing to create jobs? So government is not a job creation company, but they must create fertile ground, as I say, so that job creations can be. We need to industrialize, and with that, government needs to open up, issues and allow people to come in and do investments in our country, huge investments, and keep it sustainable so that we can create decent jobs. Today, that is today about decent jobs. An EPW worker that works for 8 hours a week at 11 rand an hour is not a decent job. It's a joke. And I still cannot believe that government says you must pay a domestic worker 22 rand an hour, yet the people that work for them gets 11 rand an hour. That smacks. That's a joke, and it's a fallacy that you must support such agreement. Well, it's there. It's signed. Unions had the opportunity to appeal it, and it was not done. Whatever reason that is, we were not at Netlak. We can't speak. All I'm saying is that's how government is, and government should pull up its socks. We can't allow these things. They must create the opportunities so that jobs can be created and sustainable jobs for that. Thank you, Louise.
Wow, thank you, Paul. But to get back to the order of today, I want to talk specifically around your first reason that you mentioned as to why SAITA embarked on this. Apart from it being decent work day to day, but let's talk about the permits and the waiving, and why is this so important that municipalities adhere to this government gazetted rule?
Okay. So if you look at the normal, and I may be using a wrong terminology, forgive me for that, but if the normal working class person, last year when disaster struck, there was they call it temporary TER system, temporary employee remuneration system was introduced by government. I had family members that applied for that. That did not include the informal trader. The informal trader makes his or her money by the feet that passes the stall or where it sells, and and if there's no people walking up and down, if the country is locked down, the informal trader cannot earn a cent. And the exclusion of TERS made people, and especially in the informal trader environment, to have zero income. Now you can imagine a person living in an informal settlement, having no money to buy food for 2-3 hungry children, a husband or a wife that doesn't work, unemployed. The only person that brings in money is the informal trader, and he or she can't trade. That's a travesty to justice. So when government saw this and said, look, we must give the opportunity to the informal sector now to revive itself, and we opened up from level 3 and 2, people could go start out, use public transport, start to move out to markets and open up. This opportunity is now to start to, and I'm putting this out there, and I say it without fear and favor. The informal sector are not making money now. They are surviving now because they need to still pay what's outstanding from a year back. And one of the reasons that government looked at this said, okay, if it was like that, let's waiver the permit system. Let's give them an opportunity to not pay 114 Rand a week or 200 Rand a weekend for a stall to sell stuff. Let them at least start to make a bit of money and get to a situation where they can be self-sufficient and pay off their debt. And it is very important, it's crucial that these permits are waived and that the municipalities take note of waiving these permits so that the informal sector can have an opportunity to start trading and better themselves and help themselves. So that's important. That's why the call went out from us as SAITA since the president signed that. We've been at so many meetings and in so many fights with the city and with the media, with law enforcement officers in the media, to ask them to recognize that agreement by the president and that directive and to adhere to it and waiver the permit system. And I mean, why is it that a city like Eastern Cape, for instance, only have 2 or 3 municipalities that don't adhere? The rest adhere. I mean, I heard this morning, there's even certain municipalities in the Northern Cape and Northwest Province that don't have bylaws for informal traders. They're allowed to trade and make money on which they found best ways. Their best practices is their best practice, and klar, the municipality don't interfere with them. They know and they understand and they accept the precarious situation that they trade and work under. And so why is it that other municipalities come with the issue to write us a letter, the audacity to write us a letter to say to our national president, look, we'll get legal opinion if we must implement this or not. A municipality manager, a mayor, has the audacity to challenge the national president to tell him, we will get, on your word, signed government gazetted directive, a legal opinion on how legal it is. That smacks in the face of the normal working class and needs to think twice when you make a vote at the 1st of November. If a person saying this about you as a trader, if that is the right person or right party to lead you. So taking, shake a bit and turn the apple cart, if I can say that, it's so important for us as the informal trader to vote right so that we can have our rights protected by whoever governs. But going back to what you were saying is, the permit needs to be waived because that's the only way that informal traders will have a little bit of hope to start, making some money. I don't want to use the word making money, but just start coming back to normality pre-COVID. Let me put it like that, yeah.
So we've had a lot of people on stage in Cape Town today that spoke about various different sectors.
Yes.
Do you want to quickly just elaborate on some of those pertinent points that came out in today's session?
We could. Okay, so first and foremost, Sanko, how do I say, the university youth, they made an input, and Sanko says that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, and that is true. I mean, it is what it is. But they're also first and foremost part of the community. And hence them coming out today supporting us as SAITA and Cosatu in our fight because we are community members. Doesn't matter where you stay, what you do. Your neighbor could be the director or the manager of a shop, and you are an informal trader, but you stay in the same community. The same water pressure and the lack of water, or the same service delivery and the lack thereof, beats or has impact on both of us. The SACP was very clear today. The SACP was very, very clear that we need to take hands as a community in fighting this, the poverty and the corruption in government. Poverty in the community side and corruption in government. Corruption is going to be the end of us. And the SACP was very clear that if you know of things, put your hand up, become a whistleblower, become part of the answer and not stay part of the problem. Because if you know of something, you are part of the problem. The Cosatu president spoke, and she spoke at length about, the issues that Cosatu had with the city, with some with the union, some with that works in the city. If you look at the city of Cape Town, they had extra water levies in the last 2 years since the drought, and they had a 2 billion rand. They made 2 billion rand. Hulle het wins gemaak, né? 2 billion rand. Yet they are making an application, they're making an application to Salga not to pay increases this year to the members or the workers because they can't afford it. It's a lie. It's a lie. They've made so much money with that extra money from the city and the water and electricity, extra fees that we need to pay. Yet they say they don't have money. So they spoke at length about that. And then President Rashida from SAITA made a speech, and I know you have the speech with you. And I don't know if you want to quickly read it, and then we can maybe discuss 1 or 2 pointers there.
Yes, I'd like to share it with our viewers because obviously Cape Town would have heard it, but the rest of the country hasn't.
Yes.
And it says, in our president's words, we march today in support of basic workers' rights. The informal business sector in this country remains under siege. Our landlords, the municipalities, and town councils want to retain the master-slave relationship with us. And as SAITA, we say, no more, enough is enough. You will respect us. You will recognize our role as major job creators. You will recognize our role in poverty alleviation. You will recognize our status as legitimate business persons, you will reevaluate your perception of this vital business sector in line with globally accepted norms and standards. SAITA, the South African Informal Traders Alliance, is the voice of the voiceless and has since 2013 been the official national traders representative movement. With 9 provincial structures, SAITA is built on the principles of trust, integrity, and the premise of an enabling work environment. We call on errant municipalities to adopt the government's proclamation on the freeze of permit payments until the end of 2022 as gazetted. Currently, the City of Cape Town refuses to recognize it. We urge the City of Cape Town to recognize the Do No Harm policy statement issued by WeGo and StreetNet International in relation to intimidation and harassment of traders and confiscation of their stocks. Why not redirect the resources of law enforcement to fighting real crime? Decent working conditions for vulnerable workers and the protection of women traders from all forms of gender-based violence. Aluta continua, that comes from our president, Madam Rashida Muller.
Yes, and I think
Now you can keep it.
I would want to stand at one point, especially. I think we touched on the do no harm and we touched on the permits, but I would like to touch on something, and I know our time is slowly starting to get onto us.
No.
But I would like to address the issue of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is a huge issue in South Africa. And if we beat COVID as a pandemic, then the next pandemic that we need to face is gender-based violence. And the lack of men understanding what their role is in communities and in their house. And I want to make a call tonight. And I know this is going to go out to all people. And I want to make a call tonight. If you know of somebody that is busy with gender-based violence in his house or in his workplace or anywhere, report that person. You are part of the problem if you don't report him. Or you are part of the problem. Become part of the solution. Gender-based violence can be beaten. But it's a social issue. It's not a... And policing can happen, but that happens only after a female or even a male has reported that to the police. The police are not in your house. They don't know what happens after it happens. And so you can only see the police investigating a crime when a woman gets beaten and torn to pieces and comes to the station and says, I've been beaten. Then it's too late. The damage is done. So it's a social problem that can be beaten, but it takes every person in the community to beat that. From the smallest guy, 11-year-old boy playing in a parkie, hearing the person in the house shouting at his wife or a glass break, report it to your mother. If you're a 55-year-old gogo sitting in the house and you hear the guy next door slapping his wife, don't say it's not your problem. It is your problem. If you go and tell your neighbor that the neighbor next to you goes and buys the expensive Woolworths chicken and you like to skinner about that, but you don't want to skinner about him slapping his wife, you are part of the problem. You must be part of the solution. Speak out, talk about it, don't keep it quiet, and we can beat gender-based violence. That is important. And I want to make a call to our men as well. Become men of change. Don't be part of the problem yourself. The way that you treat your woman and you treat your wife is how you, and your girlfriend, whoever it is that you treat. Even your colleague, a female, you might say something at the work that you have had a bad day at the home, and you're saying you're snapping. You're making a problem and you're telling somebody something wrong, even another person. You are part of the gender-based violence. You need to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So that's my call today, Louise. This is part of our call to the city as well. Look out for gender-based violence, but it's a social problem. We need to fix it, and we need to make sure that we become better citizens and beat gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those inspiring words, Comrade Paul. And yes, it definitely is something that we all need to take responsibility for. But just in closing, I think in talking about this working class solidarity between the workers of the informal and the formal economy, the informal economy does need some sort of a structure, and SAITA provides that structure for the informal economy. So if you just briefly want to help our viewers to understand why they should lobby behind SAITA to become this voice of the informal sector, and just tell them how to go about getting in touch, please.
Okay. So getting in touch, if you look, and I know this video will be shared. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, scrolling under my name and under the name of Louise, is our email address, SAITA. It's membership@saita.org.za. And our phone number is 061 547 5879. Send us a WhatsApp and we'll send you the link to join. But to answer your question, Louise, is, there's solidarity in numbers. And we can be fragmented and all around South Africa, and then we will just stay fragmented and people will run over us. And the saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. And we need to stand together as a united force. So we ask people, join SAITA, send us the membership email, send us a WhatsApp so we can link you up, join your organization where you, in the smallest corner of South Africa, join SAITA. I want to always use this little example. If you know the Eastern Cape, there's a little town called Mkwandule. And Mkwandule is a small hospital. And there's a cleaner in the hospital who has never seen the leadership of Nehawu, but he's a Nehawu member. And Nehawu goes and negotiates a 10%, 5% increase with the Department of Health. He gets it on his pay sheet. He will just say, here's the increase. My union worked for me. And we can be the same as SAITA, talking to big business, talking to government, talking to the formal sector. And a small little trader sitting in Mkwandule in front of that hospital selling cigarettes will just suddenly say, I'm not paying permits. Why is that? Because SAITA has done its work nationally. If you join us and you make us strong, then there's a song that goes out, and my voice tonight can't sing, but it says, solidarity forever because the union makes you strong. Now, I want to say solidarity forever because SAITA makes us strong. And let us join hands. The only thing to lose is the shackles that bound us. Let's shake that shackles, become a united force in SAITA, and with that we can beat all the injustices of the governments against our small informal traders and the bigger informal economy. Let's join hands, join SAITA, and let's become the force that we are supposed to be. Amandla.
Thank you, Paul. Always such a pleasure to have you on the panel here on SAITA Straight Talk. And with those powerful words, it's time for me, Louise, to say thank you for viewing with us. Please like the SAITA media page. Please share this video with your network, and join us again every Tuesday and every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock on the SAITA Media Facebook page for another episode of SAITA Straight Talk. Till next time, from me, Louise. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Louise. Bye-bye, and a luta continua.